And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Hey, welcome back. This is episode... you know what? I have my podcast app open for a specific reason. I'll mention it in a second. Episode 152. 152 of this show that I've been doing for a couple of years now. No. Yeah, it's been a couple of years. And I've had a bunch of venues. I've had venues that included my room and my childhood home, which is what I've been told officially sold off, auctioned off to the lowest bidder. Traditionally, it's the highest bidder, but now it's the lowest bidder. And then after that, it moved to the attic of a house that I was living in. And it was also the room I slept in, very tiny, very disgusting. And then quickly, just 2 months later, moved into the cavernous master bedroom of a three-bedroom apartment I was living in. And then, about a calendar year after that, and in between the next thing, it was, in a car, in my old Chevy Volt. I was also in my bathroom sometimes, in my closet sometimes, of that master bedroom. And then, even at one point, I moved to another apartment where I currently reside, and it's been in the office of that apartment. But now, right now, for this one episode only, I was in the office building of a job I used to work at, a contract job at the Weather Channel I used to work. And so now, for one episode only, it is outdoors. I'm sitting on the pollen-infested curb of my job. I am at the office. I can see the building right now. But I just left in the middle of lunch to record this episode of the show. I'm going to be very forthcoming with you. I was recording an episode last night, and I was covering the topics I wanted to cover. I only had 4 things, and then I had something for the second, which I mean, obvious. I do this periodically. Sometimes I have, just a full episode, and I'm rushing through things, and it just wasn't, it never usually works out. This time, I was rushing through things, and I truly was not feeling it. One, because I'd gotten home from work. I just usually what I do is I watch one. I had to check what time it is. I don't have a timer going for some reason. I have my phone with me. I have $3,000 worth of equipment in my book bag now, and I just don't. I didn't have my phone out recording the time. Anyway, and so I don't know what I was saying. I had to start a timer. But yeah, usually I just I come home and I watch 30 minutes to an hour of just shows that don't matter. And by shows don't matter, I mean shows that I love, and that if I miss a couple of minutes or episodes of it, the world will not end. Whereas if I miss an episode of Mad Men, I will be furious to catch up on the story. But traditionally, they're sitcoms or cartoons. And so I usually, I'll watch like Life in Pieces, Bob Hart's Abishola, The Unicorn, just shows that typically, I just touched my face there. Hopefully I don't die. But typically there's shows that just don't matter. But so I did that yesterday, and then I sit down to record the show. I got the Zoom already. I got the iPad hooked up to the Zoom to do the theme song. I got both cameras set up. I had the lights at a great angle, and it truly looks good. The sun's not blasting me from behind. It truly looks like it's going to be a great episode. And then I start recording the episode, and I'm just not feeling the stories. And I was trying to do an episode that wasn't about the coronavirus, because everything I've done from News Time to the Constitutionals has just been about this thing. And I'm like, what, maybe I shouldn't have this cover everything, have these shows cover everything. And then I get a text from a friend who just moved from Tennessee to the Atlanta area, truly just minutes away from me, a minute's walk. And again, we're in the coronavirus thing. and he goes, "Hey, man, you want to come out, hang out?" I go, "Yeah," because he's just trying to explore the city, even though we're in now we're officially a true quarantine. And I just put the hold button on. I'm now touching the microphone. And he texts me, and I go, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything." So I end the first segment of the show thinking that I'm going to come back and start doing the second segment in maybe, an hour. Because he's just like, "Hey, come meet us outside." I go. We hang out for 4 hours straight, walking around. Again, we're supposed to be quarantined, but we're not. Walking around and stuff like that. I go to his place. Again, supposed to be quarantined, not. And then I go back home. It's now 9:30 at night. I haven't eaten dinner. And I make a dinner, I eat, and then I go, "You know what, time to record this podcast." And I sit down to record, and I start doing the second segment, and I acknowledge everything that happened, and I go, "This is not fun. This is not good. This is not a good episode of this show. I'll just record it while I'm at work tomorrow." Here we are, 3 minutes into this, or 7 minutes in, me explaining this. So here we are, me trying to figure out how this all works. Now I have the Zoom handheld. I was going to shoot it in my car, and then I thought, you know what? Why not take it? Is this off center? It just feels as though this is off center. Or maybe if I talk. Oh, do I have to talk like this? Oh my God! Have I been holding it wrong the whole time? Yes, I have. This must sound loads better. I'll adjust the volume so it's not blowing our ears. So now I'm sitting outside. I drove to work today. So now Atlanta's in this. I don't want to dig too deep into this. Atlanta's now on like another quarantine. And they're like, and the city's saying, "Hey, don't go out." The mayor, "Hey, don't go outside. We're for real this time." And so now you can be fined and pulled over and stuff. I saw when we were walking on the Beltline last night. I'm just giving away the exact area I live in. If anyone is listening to this and they want to murder me, feel free, because I have nothing to live for. Walking on the Beltline, there are police on the Beltline. They can give out They can give out $1,000 fines. They can take you to jail and all that. Serious. And so to answer that, this morning before work, I said, "You know what? No one's going to be at the office. I'm going to run to Target." I get to Target, and the Target in Buckhead, Atlanta, Georgia, is the Buckhead, the neighborhood, which is probably the fancy Target, as I like to call it, because it's got two levels of Target in there. They had a lot of stuff that you could get. They were just putting out the toilet paper. Like usually, the Target at Edgewood that I usually go to, just name it. The other Target that I go to in my neighborhood, it's usually just ransacked with people buying toiletry products, even during a non pandemic times. But now, I went to. Oh my God! I just realized the video is not recording. Oh Jesus! What kind of life is this? I'm going to take here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a picture of myself. And that's going to be for the video for the first half. So it's going to be, where's the camera? Camera's right there? Right. Where's the camera? All right. Right there. Okay. And that'll be the episode picture and the picture that, let me press the camera really quick. Hold on. Is it going to record? Uh-oh. Guys, we're in for a world of trouble. Oh, it's on camera setting. I'm stupid. Everybody deserves to... Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, that's my fault. If you are now watching the YouTube video on youtube.com/comedy, you are now seeing video. Hold on. I'm going to clap. Hold on. All right. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. And this is the episode we're going to keep. Can you imagine what the episode last night was about? Anyway, watch the video, youtube.com/comedy. What was I talking about? Oh, the Target in Buckhead. Just plenty of stuff to buy. And then I went to Trader Joe's, and now I'm at work. So yeah, hey, let's get into this. 11 minutes in. Let's get into this. Okay, so the topic for today was I was going to talk about the show. I was going to give 1-sentence reviews for shows that I'm still subscribed to on podcast for podcasts. 1-sentence reviews for podcasts, and it is truly. I used to be subscribed to 99 shows. I took that down to 69. I'm not even going to acknowledge that. I took it down to. No, actually, excuse me. I took it down to 67. I had to subscribe to some premium stuff from Never Not Funny and Doughboys. I didn't have to. I wanted to. I took that down to 67 a couple of months ago because I just wasn't having fun with a lot of shows. And I'm not going to name those shows, but one of them was still processing for the New York Times. Anyway, so maybe this will be better than I did last night, because last night I was trying to do the 1-sentence reviews and I just wasn't feeling it. So here we go. Oh, here's a perfect angle for me to talk at. Here we go. 1-sentence reviews for shows. It is just so silent and beautiful and quiet out here. It is great. And I can hear construction. I can hear birds chirping. I can hear the alarm of the building next door. I can see some geese over here to my left, to the camera right. There's 2 geese by the parking garage, under the parking garage, not even by, under the parking garage. And I've seen those geese before. And I specifically stayed away from that side of the garage to not do this. Anyway, 1-sentence reviews of shows that I'm still subscribed to. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Let me lap this on my phone. Nope, I should not have done that. Anyway, let's do it. 1A from WAMU used to be hosted by Joshua Johnson, now hosted by Todd Zwillick, who I believe is the interim host until they find a permanent host, but he's doing a great job for now. 1-sentence reviews, again. It's a wonderful show where every week they cover, they have 4 different shows covering 4 different topics, and they're good half-hour chunks, and they'll talk about everything from, they'll have like movie reviews or, which I obviously skip because I don't like reviews, but it's a news podcast, so they'll talk about news, and they'll interview people, and just get. I'm watching an ant almost climb on the GoPro. So if I'm if I'm running out of words right now, I'm trying to get the ant away from me. Any Hoosers. So they talk to people, like if there's a school shooting, they'll talk about, school shootings and the impact on mental health for children and kids and stuff like that. And they'll interview kids. And so it's a really great show. Every Friday they have 1-sentence reviews. Again, every Friday they have a news roundup, and it's an hour-and-a-half show, and they talk about news around the world, so international and local news. So there you go. 1 sentence. All the songs considered from NPR as well. It is a show where Robert Hilton and Bob Boylan, on Fridays, they and their gaggle of music correspondents and critics talk about the latest music that has released. And then on Tuesdays, they interview musicians, and they talk about. They have playlists and stuff, and it's just a great, great show. The application, if you know the application, it's a show that I made for a job, and I did not get that job. Asking me another from WNYC, Peter Sagal, and a bunch of a couple of comedians. They do a trivia show for the week's news. Very good, very fun. I enjoy it. Best Friends from Earwolf with Shashir Zameda and Nicole Byer. It is a show where Nicole and Shashir let us in on their friendship. They do personality and friendship quizzes, which I do not listen to, and they answer your questions about being best friends. Sometimes they interview people who are best friends. The Teacher's Lounge from Big Grande. It is a very funny improv comedy show from the improv comedy troupe, the Big Grande. And it's 4 comedians, and they play these teachers who are horrible at their jobs. And these teachers just get into these antics that are just insane and crazy, and it's truly one of the funniest shows out there for television, podcast, like for anything. The Bodega Boys with Desus and Miro. Desus and Miro just talk for an hour and a half, truly, and sometimes I can't ever understand what they're saying, and that's what it is. Code Switch from NPR. That is, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the host's names, so I can't look it up. Anyway, I'm on LTE on my iPad right now, and the battery is draining at 2% per hour. I love Apple products. You heard it here, folks. Code Switch. Is there a car coming? It sounds like it. God, it's so serene out here. Code Switch. It is a great show. Code switching is the term used for people who, they have one group of friends. Like you have your friends at work and you talk to them a certain way, all buttoned up. And then you have your friends outside of work and you're chill, you're cool. You're chill, you're cool. That's how you talk to your friends. Chill and cool. So code switching talks about people of color and women, and it has great deep dive stories into why things are the way they are for people of color or women, and yeah, I mean that's it. Let's see, Comedy Bang Bang. If you don't know this and you're listening to this show, if you don't know what Comedy Bang Bang is, come on. Comedy Bang Bang is one of the longest running comedy podcasts. Scott Aukerman, and it was a live show before that. Scott Aukerman, one sentence reviews. Scott Aukerman sits down with a famous person promoting something or not promoting something, and then there's usually 2 to 3 to sometimes 10 other characters that are comedians playing characters, and he's talking to interesting people. It's a great show. I don't know how else to explain it. It's an improv comedy show. Conan O'Brien needs a friend. Conan, his assistant, Sona Mosesian, and Matt Gorley, who's a podcast host around the globe, storied podcast host, Matt Gorley. They interview famous people who Conan tries to befriend. Very good show. Crazy Genius is like a seasonal kind of show that The Atlantic has. It's a technology and AI podcast, kind of. Each season covers, different topics, stuff like that. I enjoy it. I like it a lot. Culture Kings, Jaquise O'Neill and Edgar Montplaisir, they interview people, and it's for the culture. The Daily. It's again, if you don't know this podcast, The Daily is New York Times' podcast. I paused because I didn't know what to say next. You ever get those? That's how Obama did his speeches. He would pause, and then he would say something, and it made it look like it was poignant. Okay. The Daily is a New York Times podcast. Michael Barbaro and his ragtag group of correspondents and reporters will go out and report a news story every day, the day's most pertinent news. The Directors Guild of America, Director's Cut. This is where the host will sit down. I forgot the host's name. I'm sorry. Will sit down with the directors of our time and talk about their latest movies. So they would do Downhill, the remake of Force Majeure that just came out, with from Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, starring Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. The Three Christs, I remember that movie came out, Pain and Glory. They just talk about those directors and the writers and stuff. It is great. Or the directors, excuse me. Doughboys podcast and the Doughboys Double. I'll cover these at the same time. Doughboys is a podcast where Mike Mitchell and Nick Weiger will go out and review fast food chains. But the truth is, they're lovely guys, and they're very funny, and they crap on themselves all the time, and it's a wonderful show. And then the Doughboys Double is so it's a Patreon-driven show where you pay. You obviously can get the free feed and listen to the regular Doughboys episodes, but the double is you pay $5, you get to listen to their second weekly show, where it's less food oriented, but it's still killing them, and the food's killing them, and it's lovely. I love it so much. Let's see, Dumb People Town with the Sklar Bros and Dan Van Kirk. I was going to say Dan St. Germain, but that's a different comedian. I've interviewed all three of these guys. Very funny show where the one of the geese is looking at me. Very funny show where where they just cover stories about very stupid people, and they're mostly from Florida. It's very funny. They cover news stories about it. It's so funny. The Dumbbells. And they have a famous, they have a comedian who joins them and talk about it. Dumbbells, personal fitness. This one's with Eugene Cordero and, Jesus. Stanger? What's his first name? What is Stanger's first name? Eugene Cordero and Stanger. They're comedians and they're actors, and they talk about working out. And they interview people as, comedians and actors and writers and stuff, and talk about their working out regimen. And you can learn a lot and you can laugh a lot, and it's great. Game Scoop from IGN. Game Scoop is a show about the hosts and the people, IGN personalities, just talking about video games and news and stuff like that, and what they're playing. Good One from Vulture. It's a podcast about jokes, is their tagline. Oh, here comes a car. It's a podcast about jokes. It is Jesse David Fox, I believe, hosts it, and he just interviews comedians about their jokes, and it's a very great show. I like it. Let's see. Sorry, there's an ant coming near me. I just watched a car drive down here and turn around. Go away, ant. Get out of here. All right. Might have killed an ant. PETA, don't come after me. I have no money. High and Mighty. John Gabris talks about stuff that with his guests, things that his guests are really into. So there's an episode with Ali Gandor, who is a writer and I believe a director as well, actor and producer, whatever, same thing. And they talk about video games. They spoke about video games, and Yeardley Smith from The Simpsons, Yeardley Smith, screw it, let's do it. She's talked about her career and her motto and stuff like that. Let's see. Let's name somebody I think you might know. Adam Pally. They talked about Vegas. So great show. I like it. Moving on. Hollywood Handbook and then Hollywood Handbook Pro version, same thing. Just a shorter show for the latter. Hollywood Handbook is where two hosts, they sit down with somebody and either famous or up and coming. I don't know how to describe people, and they talk about how to make it in Hollywood. It's a satirical podcast. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. It's truly, I barely get it. It's still there are things that, oh boy, it's. But it's enjoyable. I enjoy my time. And the pro version is the same show, but guestless, and it's very tiring. How Did This Get Made? Paul Scheer, June Diane Raphael, and Jason Mantzoukas sit down and talk about movies that are either so wild or so bad, like the Fast and Furious, so wild, or so bad, Leprechaun, I don't know. And they talk about and they dissect why it got made. Now it's kind of more of a live show. They used to do a lot of studio episodes, but I'm guessing that you can make more money from a live show and having the audience there and stuff like that. So take that as you will. How Did This Get Played is a show about Nick Weiger again and Heather Ann Campbell. It's like How Did This Get Made, but for video games. So yeah, that's what it is. Except louder. It's a loud show. They speak very loudly on that show. Can you hear? Oh my God, the geese are coming over here. I wish I could show you right now. They're just like sauntering slowly across the parking lot, and they're getting really close. How I Built This with Guy Raz, who stepped down from hosting the TED Radio Hour for some reason. But it's a business podcast where Guy, it's an NPR show, where Guy talks to people and how they build their companies. And so, like one of the good episodes I like that recently came out were Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield. Oh, that's from 2017. Oh, whatever. They talked about how Ben & Jerry's became the company it is today. And he talked to Casey Neistat on YouTube. Let's see. Eventbrite's Julia Hartz You don't know the people, but you'll see the company. You'll be like, oh, I want to learn how Jimmy Wales created Wikipedia. I want to see how Chicken Salad Chick was made. Steve Madden, stuff like that. Improv for Humans from Matt Besser. It's an improv comedy podcast. Imagine going to an improv comedy show, but that being in podcast form. It's great. I like it a lot. The Indicator from Planet Money. And I also want to mention that I may not listen to each show every week. Some of these are daily podcasts. Some of these are weekly podcasts. Some of these are seasonal. Again, I may not listen to these every single week, but I do enjoy my time with them. If I choose to listen to it, or if I put it on the back burner, or if I just plow through a couple episodes, I do enjoy my time. And I'm still subscribed to these for a reason. The Indicator is a daily business podcast from Planet Money and NPR. Planet Money is a show on NPR. And it's just bite-sized chunks of business, very digestible, bite-sized, digestible. What are these words I'm using? It's a great show, and they're doing a lot of coronavirus coverage. They're answering questions. Everybody should subscribe to both Planet Money and The Indicator, because I've been thinking, and this means nothing to nobody, and it won't change anything for the podcast. But I noticed that the topics I cover, even though it is an entertainment news show, I've been covering a lot of, where'd those geese go? Oh my God. They're not social distancing from one another, but they also might not be doing it for me. They're so close. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Oh, he turned. You jerk. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, geese. I'm kidding. Don't come over here. But, but this show, I was thinking about this earlier this week, very seriously, about rebranding the show, and truly nothing would happen. I would just say it's not an entertainment news podcast, but the show is more of a entertainment business news podcast, and it's a more just a cut down niche, I guess I'm saying, that this show kind of stands out in. I mean, it's because because the story last night that I was covering was the Sprint and T-Mobile merger, and because it was something I want to talk about, and I just think, and then I'll talk about talent agencies or why the box office wasn't doing too well, and I just think that's stuff that interests me. And as much as this is an entertainment news podcast, I would not say comedy podcast because I am not funny. But as much as it's an entertainment news podcast, I think that it is also a business podcast where you can learn and stuff. We're almost done. So that is what I've been thinking about this week, while also trying to distract myself from being alone and not wanting to drive my car in the side of a wall. So, yes. When I describe the Constitutionals, I will say entertainment, business, entertainment news, and ampersand, business podcast. And entertainment, business, ampersand, news, podcast. How far in are we? Almost 30 minutes. Okay. Exactly 30 minutes. Let me just mark that down. All right. Okay, here we go. But that's what this show is. That's what this show is to me. And I won't stop doing those types of stories. When I was coming down to set up for this show today, I had everything with me. Okay, I'm sorry. I saw the geese disappeared, and I was like, oh my God, are they behind me? And I put, if you're watching the video, which I implore you to see 11 minutes of a picture, a static picture, and then moving video. There was, I was sitting down. I'm sitting down a couple of feet away from the GoPro. I stood over, and I could see. I stood over. I looked over, and I saw the wind was barely blowing. A giant dust cloud of pollen, and I thought, "Is this a good idea to do this?" Especially with my allergies. But now my allergies have gotten used to this, and so now I'm immune for the rest of the spring season. But it happens. That happened last season too. I would get like super bad allergies, and I have to take the antihistamines and the Allegros and all this stuff, and then that lasts for like a month, and then my body would get used to it. And the worst thing that happened to me is a sneeze. Let's move on. Indiewire Toolkit. This comes from Indiewire, of course. It's another entertainment interview podcast where, they'll talk to the director, the editor, the writers, whomever, and dissect how that person tackled the movie. So they'll talk to Lulu Wang from The Farewell, Bong Joon-ho from Parasite, Sam Mendes and his cinematographer Roger Deakins from 1917, Quentin Tarantino, and his cinematographer, Quentin Tarantino and his cinematographer Robert Richardson, Josh and Benny Safdie from Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems is, I'm going to watch this weekend. I plan on it. It is a $2 rental or $3 rental on Amazon. So is Gemini Man and, oh God, now I have to look. It's Gemini Man and something else, because I'm going to rent 3 movies this weekend. I'm going to spend $6 because I have nothing. And Hustlers. They're all $3, $2. Crap, the prices went up. Oh, man, I should have done it yesterday when I had a chance. Well, Gemini Man's still $3. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll rent them anyways. Dang it, I should have done it yesterday. Ugh, my finances didn't change. I could have done it regardless. Okay. Inside Conan is a show from the Conan writers, from 2 of the Conan writers. They sit down and talk about the behind the scenes of Conan. It's very fun and very interesting. Again, I love that type of stuff. The Journal from Wall Street Journal, which is, I truly love Planet Money. And I truly love The Daily. I think The Journal, and I truly love 1A. I think The Journal might be my favorite business podcast. It does the business news and the business stuff, and it just does it so well. Just another business podcast covering the news and covering. It's a daily show, and it covers everything you need to know. Man, these ants are on me now. All right, well, I knew this was going to happen. That was a risk. And then we've got Larry Wilmore, Black on Air. Larry Wilmore talks to people in the political or entertainment news sphere, or the news sphere, excuse me, or the business sphere, and he just talks to them. And he's a great host. The nightly show should have just been rejiggered and not canceled. Late Night with Seth Meyers. Sometimes Seth Meyers interviews people, but it's mostly a show that takes the video version and shrinks it down, and cuts off the video and just makes it an audio podcast. It's I like it, but sometimes Seth talks to people, and I like that too. The Writers Panel with Ben Blacker. Ben Blacker talks to writers from TV shows. Truly, either you like it or you don't. Uh-oh. What's going on here? Oh, it's down there. Okay. The iPad, it just registered something that I did yesterday. The app is like, the Writers Panel's too high up. I don't know why I did that. Nintendo Voice Chat. Yesterday I was trying to sort by name, and it didn't do it. And I guess today it registered. Nintendo Voice Chat. The Nintendo crew from IGN talks about Nintendo news. And, I like the show. It's only a Nintendo podcast out there. And only Nintendo news podcast that I like that's out there. There's others, but I prefer not to listen. And then Never Not Funny. So Never Not Funny has 2 versions, but they're named the same. Never Not Funny and Never Not Funny Platinum, essentially. You get a free show with Never Not Funny, but Never Not Funny Platinum gives you an extra show plus video and stuff. Anyway, Jimmy Pardo, Matt Belknap, Karen Cockrell, and Elliot Hochberg talk to people in the entertainment industry, and it's a very funny show. I love it. It reminds me of, and I interviewed Jimmy a couple weeks ago because I've been talking. I know this. Anyway, go read that, cpluscomedy.com. And 35 minutes in, and we and I told him that the show reminds me a lot of it's like when I was younger. We used to, on the way to school, if I got a ride to school, we would listen to the Steve Harvey morning show or any one of those radio shows. In college, I started listening to the Elvis Duran show, and then on Howard Stern as well too. So I like those radio, news, not the radio talk shows, and it's very funny. And Never Not Funny reminds me of that, but it's like a little bit crappier version. And I told him, I didn't say crappier version, but I said like a less produced version, because it's raw and it's great. I love it. The NPR Politics Podcast. 5 days a week, you get to listen to the politics correspondents from NPR just cover the politics news, and sometimes it's, they're doing the Lord's work. It is what they have to put up with. Oh my gosh. There's like 7 of them, and they're all very smart and very good at what they do. Why was Fresh Air so far down? Fresh Air, if you don't know that podcast, then you're missing out. Terry Gross talks to people, and sometimes it's a news podcast, and they cover people that are about the topic, that know the topic. So like they did an episode on masks, vaccines, and how COVID-19 might end. It's a great, and then sometimes we'll just interview Mark Maron or Hank Azaria or other famous people. Great show. I would truly like it. I would love to have her. I wrote a script once where she guested on an unproduced script where she guested on a show that I wrote on. Anyway, nobody's ever going to read my scripts unless you're going to hire me. The TED Radio Hour, great show. Takes TED Talks and puts them in audio form. However, it's different. It's not the full TED Talk. The hosts will talk to the people that originally made a TED Talk, and then they'll try to dive deeper, and they'll do like a cursory glance at the TED Talks. Great, I like it. Philosophize. This is a philosophy podcast. The host will take philosophy and make it easy to understand. Well, not easy to understand, but he'll try to make it relatable and help you understand it. It's a great show. I sometimes I listen to it before I go to bed, and I like philosophy. I like business, stuff like that, and I just try to learn. Planet Money is a show it's a business podcast. Or remember when I said about The Indicator that takes it down and digests business news in the bite-sized chunks? Well, this is the full meal. It's a great show. Truly, I like it. I like it a lot. I shouldn't say I like it. A Podcast Beyond, IGN's PlayStation podcast. It is very biased against PlayStation, whereas the Nintendo podcast and the Xbox podcast are not. The Podcast Beyond is very biased, and it gets annoying a lot. But they talk about PlayStation news. Unlocked from IGN is our podcast. Unlocked is that's why it's next to Beyond, Podcast Beyond, because they're both P's, start with P's in the podcast. It's the IGN's Xbox podcast. Like I said, a little bit less biased. The New York Times Popcast is a show where John Caramonica and the rest of the pop culture critics and music critics at New York Times, and sometimes critics from Pitchfork and Rolling Stone and other publications, they talk about pop music, and it's great. And they cover pop music in a way that NPR really can't. Again, it's still a little bit, it's buttoned up like NPR, but truly, I love All Songs Considered and podcasts. They're like, I couldn't ask for anything else from music podcasts. Post reports, like, and for podcasts, they'll cover if there was some sexual misdealings in the music industry, then they'll cover that. If someone dies, they'll cover that, and they'll have like an episode dedicated. That's great. Post reports. This is from Washington Post, another news podcast. This time it takes 2 to 3 stories, puts them in 7-minute chunks, but into a 21-minute episode, 22-minute episode, and a half hour traditionally, and they cover those stories. And again, another great news show. See, if I'm subscribed to these, either I'm not ambivalent about subscribing to any of these. I enjoy subscribing to all of these. Sometimes I think about unsubscribing, but then I just can't. The Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith, another podcast about where the host interviews directors and writers and people like that. It's I just love it. Jeff Goldsmith will talk to again, writers, directors, producers, all that stuff. Talk about how the movies are made. Are you talking R.E.M. R.E.M. which used to be Are You Talking You Two to Me? Scott Aukerman and Adam Scott just go album by album for R.E.M. and U2. They did a excuse me. They did a Huey Lewis episode. So yeah, great show. Sometimes they interview the musicians behind the music, and it's a very funny show too. But they also know a lot about the music. The Ticket. This was renamed. This is another Atlantic podcast. The Ticket is now it's kind of like a politics podcast. Why is that so high up? It's like a politics podcast. It keeps moving things. If I open it up, it just keeps moving things. It's a politics podcast. They talk about politics. I don't know. The Ticket's kind of bland, but I enjoy listening to it because it's not produced. The Atlantic's so old. It's just it starts with the song that goes dun 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 dun. Like that's the kind of show it is. Radiolab from NYC. Radiolab is, I haven't listened to a lot of episodes, and I kind of just stay subscribed for the heck of it. But it is a show that just covers different topics. It's not even a news show. It just covers different stories. And that's really how I can describe my Radiolab. Reset from Vox by Recode. Reset from Recode by Vox. It's a Vox podcast. Just say that. It's a technology podcast, and they're just trying to see how that pertains. Those geese are looking at me. They're trying to see how that pertains to us and how it affects us. And it's a good show. I like it. Revisionist history. Excuse me? I think the geese just made a noise. Revisionist history from Malcolm Gladwell. Just talk about history. It's a history podcast. The end. Now there's a lot more to it, but just this episode's been going long. Oh, Jesus. Scriptnotes. Yeah. From John August and Craig Mazin, two Hollywood writers, Hollywood bigwigs, talking about movies with their writer friends. And it's a good show if you want to learn how the sausage is made, but it's a little bit more approachable than, something like the Q&A or Indiewire Toolkit. So Many White Guys from WNYC. This is another seasonal podcast, which I always wanted to unsubscribe to, but I gotta stay with it because I know it's going to come back once a year. Phoebe, the host, Phoebe Williams. I forgot her last name. Jessica Williams. Phoebe. Oh, jeez, this is embarrassing. Let's see. So Many White Guys podcast. We're the host, Phoebe Robinson. Jesus. Phoebe Robinson sits down and talks to people who aren't white guys and interviews them about their lives. And it's a great show. And then at the end of the season, she talks to one white guy. This American Life, a lot like Radiolab, they cover one story. It's not a news it's not a news podcast. It's just a story. It covers a story. And if you don't know this show, then you're missing out still. 3Q, the 3 questions with Andy Richter. Andy Richter, who's known as Conan's partner in crime. He talks to his famous friends, Matt Walsh, Dion Cole, David Sedaris, Rob Corddry, Aaron Hayes, Rob Hubel. A bunch of great people. And he asks them 3 questions. That's the gist. Throughline, it's another history podcast. But this it's got a little bit more mystery behind it. And it's a little bit more behind the veil, and I like it a lot. Throwing Shade with Aaron Gitson and Brian Safi. They talk about women's issues and queer issues, and I love it. One would think that I don't, but I do. I like Throwing Shade. They very left leaning, so if you're not a fan of that stuff, then don't listen to it. Throwing Shade, Groceries. The both of them, they talk about grocery shopping, and it is a delight. It used to be called A Deeper Shade of Shade, but where they interview people, but that stopped. And I don't think it's coming back. The Ticket, Up First from NPR. It's a daily news podcast that just covers the news that you missed, for the news you need to know for the day. Essentially, 10 minutes. It's great. Wait, Don't Tell Me. Oh my God. Ask Me Another is not Wait, Don't Tell Me. I am so dumb. Okay. Ophira Eisenberg hosts Ask Me Another, and this is embarrassing. Oh my gosh. I went through this entire episode and I forgot about that. I think I did it last night too. Ophira Eisenberg hosts that, and it's a trivia game show where people, it's a live show. People go up on stage and they just answer questions and they do riddles and stuff, and it's a great show. Wait, Don't Tell Me is Peter Sagal's show. That's a game show where he hosts with, oh my God, it's right here. It's right here. It's right here. It's right here. The goose is right here. It's looking at me and it's walking over. Oh, jeez. Okay. Buddy. You go away. I'm about to take a picture of you. All right. Yeah, you pose. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's 46 minutes. 46. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's finish this before these geeses eat me. Okay. And then there's Why Don't You Date Me? Why Won't You Date Me? From Nicole Byer. Very funny show where Nicole sits down with famous people or her friends, and she interviews them about their love lives and their work lives, and then asks, "Will you date her?" And she tries to get other guys to like her. Womp It Up is a wonderful show where Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham, they play characters from Comedy Bang Bang. It's a spinoff show, and they talk. It's their characters being wacky, I guess. I don't know. Jessica St. Clair's character is a upside down triangle shaped girl who hasn't graduated high school in like 10 years. I think she graduated in this latest episode, and very funny. I enjoy it. Womp It Up. The Writers Panel. What's News from WSJ is another daily news podcast. They do 2 episodes a day and 10-minute chunks. The news you need to know is really good. WTF with Mark Maron. Mark Maron interviews famous people. It's the goose is now so far away. It came over here for 10 seconds and then it walked off. Mark Maron interviews famous people. Yeah, that's it. And he's angry. You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes. Pete Holmes interviews famous people, and he's chill. And he talks about mushrooms a lot. Great show. Truly, I love both of those shows. You Made It Weird I love more so because I love Pete Holmes. I was listening to his audiobook that he wrote or narrated. All right. I got to go back inside. Listen. If you like what you heard here, and I don't know why you wouldn't, head on over to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where there are interviews with your favorite people. The Larry the Cable Guy interview will be coming out next Tuesday, hopefully, because that's when his hour drops. Let's see what else. The cpluscomedy.com. Oh, then you can follow us. If you want to see a video version of the show, youtube.com/cpluscomedy. Where you can also see our premiere show, which is another business entertainment news show. News Time, where I cover one topic to death. This week's episode was about the coronavirus in the music industry, and I had a very elaborate, which came together, I would say 95% of it came together really well. A very elaborate We Are the World parody. That was a cold open, and it lasted for 2 minutes and like 30 seconds, which is probably like my longest cold open. It's great. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. So definitely check out that episode. If anything, check out the Instagram and Twitter @CPlusComedy. Follow me like us on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram @CPlusComedy. Don't like me on Facebook. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it. You're the best around. All right, I'm done. Here's the end.